So, hey everyone, I am here with Ayo in the beautiful Bali. He's one of the clients that I see on site in this beautiful island. And not so long ago, Ayo and I met, and he mentioned his situation in which he's trying to learn dancing, bachata, and many other styles that he dances. And he, well, saw the way that I dance, the way that I look at dance, and he was very interested. And well, we have been working together for a couple of months already, since April, I believe. And well, now Ayo is getting some different results. He's also looking different. He's also seeing some changes in his life, and that is a little bit what we are going to be talking about today. So, Ayo, I would like to give the floor to you to tell everyone a little bit more, maybe who you are, how old are you, what is it that you do besides dancing, so people get to know the real you.
Okay. Thanks, Antonio. Hi, everyone. My name's Ayo. I'm 42 years old, born in Nigeria, grew up in the US, and now I live in Bali. I'm retired, actually. I used to be a lawyer. Other hobbies besides dancing, I'm a yoga teacher and a pilot. But right now, most of my attention is focused on dancing, and specifically, I'd say about 70% bachata, but also exposing myself to a little bit of Brazilian zouk, salsa, and kizomba. And I saw Antonio, I think it was around April of this year, and we were at a club in Seminyak, and this guy was just pulling out moves that I had never seen. And I remember I was dancing next to him, and at some point, both me and my partner stopped dancing just to watch this guy. And we're like, what is he doing? It was very captivating. It seemed very spontaneous. And I realized, okay, that's something I would like to learn. And so that's why I reached out to him and how this journey began.
Thanks, Ayo, for all of that. Let's talk about where were you when we met. What was your, let's say, initial state? What were the specific problems, blocks, maybe frustrations that you were dealing with before we started working together?
So, for context, I started dancing bachata when I came to Ubud almost 3 years ago. And I'm really happy with my teacher there. But the style of teaching is more focused on combinations. So, then you do this. And I found it very difficult to merge those combinations with the music when I was dancing in a social. Because every time I tried to remember something, it would take me out of the moment. So it's like I was half in the song and half in my head. And I found that that just led to me blanking a lot of the times and just doing a lot of basic steps. And then, of course, that would create this kind of anxiety and this pressure to perform.
And as we normally mention in this type of everything that is happening in our dance normally has a deeper underlying cause. So if you would have to analyze your initial state, what was really going on for you on the dance floor and off it for that to be what was happening?
I think dance is very interesting because it's almost a microcosm of life in that the experiences that I have on the dance floor in many ways mirror experiences that I've had in other areas of my life. I would say that dance is one of the few places where I can feel free to just be myself. I'm not too worried about what other people are thinking, but my inner dialogue is just as present on the dance floor as it is outside. And what I noticed was that I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. That was the biggest thing that I found. I was wanting to dance more like Antonio or some of these other advanced dancers that I saw. And I had this story in my mind that if I couldn't do things as amazingly as they did, that the people I danced with would be disappointed. And that's been a theme in my life. I guess I would call myself a recovering nice guy, in that one of my core attitudes towards life was this desire to please others as a way of getting their approval. And so, one of the things that I've really focused on is learning how to dance for my own fun and not worry so much about what other people are thinking.
Thank you for sharing, brother. You were in that initial state. You already mentioned a little bit of the first encounter. So I like to ask the question: how is it that we got initially into contact? Because we're gonna be talking about the decision process of from where you were to entering the program. So you mentioned how did you find me already in this dance club in Seminyak? What happened afterwards? How did we get in contact? How was it for you to reach me to understand what I was doing and getting to know what the program is about?
Yeah, so that first night in Seminyak, I think I might have said something to you in passing, but I mean, to be fair, I was a little intimidated. I was like, who is this guy who's just busting out moves? And so we didn't really move beyond that. You were just, I mean, I said, oh man, the way you dance is amazing. You're like, oh, thank you. And that was it. But then a few months later, at a different social in Ubud at Max One, I think I saw you again. And this time I thought, man, I really need to talk to this guy. And that's when you mentioned that you actually do some coaching. And so I thought, well, this sounds exactly like what I want to learn. I don't want to be someone who's just regurgitating techniques that he's learned in his class. I want to be someone who can spontaneously express himself using some of the techniques that I've learned, but also have the freedom to do something new. And that's what made me reach out to you and see if you'd be willing to take me on as a client.
Thank you, brother. Once we initially had this conversation about the program and when we were like even creating a program for you tailor made, did you have any doubts at that time, maybe preventing you from saying a full yes? And if so, what type of fear do you think that you felt?
I don't know that I had any doubts about you because, again, you were showing me something that I wasn't really seeing from other dancers. Maybe one or two other dancers who are also very high level. But I really thought, if this is someone who can teach me a different way of dancing, and he's here in Bali with me, then that seems like a fantastic opportunity. And then when we sat down and started talking about what this would look like, what I really appreciated was how structured your approach was. I think you had mentioned that you have a background in engineering, and it really shows in the way that you approach coaching. Everything is crystal clear. And as a lawyer, I'm also someone who pays attention to details. The saying, the devil is in the details. So, someone who has big picture ideas, but they can't really get in um, the details is someone that would have given me pause. Whereas with you, you were very clear of this is how many sessions we're going to do. Here's the frequency. We talked about three different areas of dance, all of which were complementary. And so that structure gave me a lot of comfort and said, okay, I think I'm in good hands.
Amazing, brother. Thank you. Let's talk now. Once you joined, we have been working for several months. I believe we could talk about the transformation. So let's talk about what has changed. What do you feel that is different? And I think that this type of coaching, you could talk about, let's say, tangible results from the outside, external results. And there is also something happening inside, and let's say an inner shift. So let's talk first about the external results, maybe from the outside that people can observe. What specific external results are you experiencing now that we have been working together?
External results, I would say I get a lot more compliments, both from followers and from people who are watching me dance. I get mistaken for a teacher a lot of times, and I tell them, no, I'm still very much a student. In my mind, I'm still a beginner, but I find that people, especially during the dance, when I'm able to react to the music in a way that the follower isn't expecting, but in a way where she's still able to, it's still in time, still with the music, but there's a little bit of accent, and you're able to catch those accents. That t- tends to make people very happy. And yeah, I would say that I've gotten a ton of feedback each time that we have a session and we pick one thing to work on. Then I go to a social and work on that. I almost get immediately feedback on that.
Amazing, brother. And now, as we say in the program, this is not only about the dancing itself, but what the dancing is unlocking inside of you. So What is it that you have felt as maybe inner transformations after or through the process?
Yeah, so the inner transformation is, I think, where the real work begins. And the outer transformation is more a reflection of what's happening inside. And as I mentioned, the core struggle that I have is this desire to please others. And so I'd say the biggest shift that has happened for me is the ability to dance for myself. And I'll give a concrete example. One challenge you gave me was to dance an entire song doing nothing but the basic step and see what happened. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, if I don't do any fancy combinations, the follower's going to think I'm a complete newbie. She's going to be bored. I know. So I had all these stories I was telling myself. And then I took your challenge, and I found that it didn't have any impact whatsoever. If anything, I got more positive comments from people when I was just doing basic steps than when I was trying to do all these complicated combinations. So that was a huge aha moment. So I would say that um, following your method requires courage because it requires me to challenge some beliefs that I've held onto, beliefs that may or may not be true. And so having this attitude of curiosity and saying, okay, well, this this seems counterintuitive, but let me put it into practice and see what happens, has been a very useful approach.
All right. Um, those are quite nice results, I would say. If you had to analyze, why do you think you have gotten those results?
I think that my willingness to explore, to be curious, is necessary in order to grow. If you're just interested in, if you already think you're the answers to a problem, then it really limits the effectiveness of a coach. And you have to sort of have this beginner's mind of I don't know anything, and then and I think another key part is being willing to laugh at yourself. There are times when you give me exercise and I'd say, "Oh man, I feel so silly right now," but we do it anyway. So like having a light heart, seeing I'm doing this for myself. I'm not. Who cares what other people think? That's a huge part of it. And yeah, just having a desire to be the best version of myself. I think that's a big part of why I keep working with you.
Thank you so much, bro. How do you feel now? How has these affected maybe beyond dancing in your personal life?
Well, I'd say I feel excited. One of the things about transformations is that sometimes they happen quickly, sometimes they happen over time, and you know, a lot of it has been sitting down and actually looking at where I was 6 months ago to where I am now, and it's I'm a completely different dancer, and I would say that this is also bleeding into other areas of my life where I'm realizing that I don't need to necessarily make other people happy all the time. I can prioritize myself, and so that has allowed me to be a little more spontaneous in other areas of my life.
Where do you think you would be if you hadn't joined the program?
So I actually went to Barcelona this summer, and I spent about a month in Spain. Not just in Barcelona, I went to a few other places, and I did a sensual bachata retreats, and I went to a few different schools, and I saw that there was a very high level of dancing there. And so I had it in my mind that maybe I would go and spend 3 or 6 months in Spain studying with some of these teachers to learn, how to dance like them. But I'm not in Spain. I'm here. So I think if I hadn't met you, I would probably have continued down that path. But I'm not sure how much I would have gotten because what I'm realizing is those people didn't, the ones who were amazing dancers, they didn't get there by memorizing a lot of combinations. And so your approach is more of, I think if the people who try to do combinations and then try to build a dance around it, it's sort of going about it backwards. When it's really about first getting comfortable with yourself and then finding out which moves express me the best, and then playing with those moves. And if a combination comes out of that exploration, great. So it's a much more organic. So um, to answer your question in a different way, I think if I weren't working with you, I would be in a much more, I would be in my head. I would either be in Barcelona or in my head.
Knowing what you know about the program, knowing what you know about your experience and the takeaways that you had, would you recommend this program to other people that may be in similar situations?
Mm.
And if so, why?
Yeah. So I'll give a qualified answer. I wouldn't recommend this program to everyone. I think there's certain people who benefit from your approach, and let me start by the people that I wouldn't recommend this to. People who want a kind of prepackaged cookie cutter answer, like, you know, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. You don't necessarily give answers. What you do is you invite people by asking questions to look inside and discover their own answers. So this program doesn't teach me how to dance like Antonio. It teaches me how to dance like myself. But that being said, you do a fantastic job of laying out the steps and discovering the obstacles that get in the way of me progressing down that step. So I would recommend this program for anyone who is really interested in taking their self identity to the next level, who's really interested in exploration, discovery, who likes to have fun. And then I would say the people who aren't necessarily ready would be people who uh, only want to do things in one particular way. If you already think you've figured this out, then I'm not sure that Antonio might still be able to work with you, but I don't know that you would get the full value out of the program.
Thanks, brother. And there will be people watching that maybe are in that stage of being on the fence, having some doubts whether to join or not. What is it that you would like to say after your experience working together, working with the program, to those people who have still some doubts about whether to take that step or not?
I would say that taking that step is, in a way, part of the program because by working with Antonio, what you're really doing is investing in yourself. And so a commitment to work with him is a commitment to yourself. And that requires a certain level of self worth to say, I deserve this. I think one of the biggest obstacles that people might have is to say, well, this seems so extravagant, or, like, how can I spend this kind of money? But really, what I've learned from this is that you can't give what you don't have. So, whatever you might, there's nothing wrong with doing things for yourself. If the idea of this excites you, if it makes you happy, you should absolutely go for it. And this will end up blessing the people in your life much more than if you were to withhold good things for yourself out of a sense of guilt.
Amazing answer. Thank you so much, man. Well, to everyone that is watching, this is Ayo. I'm so honored to have him as a client, as a friend here in Bali, and providing this testimonial. If you're watching and you would like to see if there is something here for you, if you would like to also experience how to stop overthinking so much, stop comparing, stop having those self doubt, those pleasing behaviors, etc., and you would like to start using dance as a transformative tool to look inwards, to change that internal world so the external world also manifests as you would like in your dance and in other areas of your life. You can always DM the word inner to my Instagram page, and we can jump on a strategy call together one on one to see if this is a good fit for you. In that call, what we do is basically we understand a little bit better your situation, what are the blocks that you have to overcome, and how to do that in your particular case, both in your dance and in your life. So, guys, it's been a real pleasure to have Ayo here. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that this helps. Peace.